Imagine a bakery that sells the perfect piece of chocolate cake. They've figured out that secret ingredient that keeps you coming back for more every time. Student interviews are just like that in your music studio. Whether you've already been conducting student interviews or are just implementing this practice, you are in one of the most formative ideas for shaping your studio. Think back on any students you've regretted having in your weekly schedule. Now, take a moment to consider whether the traits that made it a less successful relationship would have been evident if you had had an initial interview with that student and parent. Maybe you could have prevented the slow and discouraging decline of the relationship if they had had more clear expectations from the beginning. It's so empowering to know that as teachers, we hold the key to setting the tone for the entire relationship from our very first meeting. I'm using my music business playlist to share key components of a thriving music studio. From studio policies to planned recitals, I want to encourage a community of shared knowledge among teachers who love making music. Life is too short for boring music lessons for you or for your students. So here's our first key point. Create a system for gathering student information. Whether you want to rely on Google Forms to collect student info digitally, or if you'd prefer to hand families a hard copy, either way, you're gathering valuable information in this intake process. In addition to contact information, I love to grab key facts like which school the student attends, their grade, their birthday, and favorite shows, or a song that they may want to play down the line as a pianist. Here's our second key point. Observe student behavior and learning during the interview. Now, as you customize these tips to fit your studio, you'll want to have some basic exercises, simple lesson pieces, or creative activities that make up the majority of the student interview. If the student is a total beginner, I've used finger number flashcards or rhythm exercises, as well as some simple lesson book pieces. If the student has already studied, I usually ask them to play a piece that they've worked on previously. One thing I've noticed is that the most valuable information I gain from this process is more related to the student's interactions with me than it is to the quality of their playing. The key thing I'm looking for in a student is curiosity to learn during lessons, coupled with their ability to respond to my verbal cues. Our third key point, enjoy the family during the interview. The new student interview is your chance to glean some first impressions on the family. Enjoy meeting the student's parent. Don't hesitate to make some small talk and try to initiate a get-to-know-you conversation. The information that you gain about the parents can help with your student impression as well. Allow me to share a quick example. I once conducted a student interview with a very fidgety 7-year-old boy. His attention was wandering, and despite including a variety of activities, he struggled to quickly grasp new ideas. His mom, however, was not only well put together, but also truly interested in her son's success. She was neither a helicopter mom nor unengaged. As you enjoy meeting the family, you may get a more accurate estimation of the student's potential in your studio. This family ended up being one of my top clients. It's time for our fourth key point. Share your studio policy. Savvy teachers protect their studio by providing a studio policy to parents. This draws the boundaries to set you and your families up for success. It usually covers tuition details, missed lessons policy, late fees, lesson materials, and any liability waivers. Since I have another video that focuses on studio policies, I'm just going to share a key principle that has transformed my ability to focus on key clients. The Pareto principle states that for many outcomes, roughly 80% of the results are related to only 20% of the causes. When I considered how this applied to my studio, I realized that 80% of my income was coming from a disproportionately small set of families. I labeled these as my key clients and brainstormed how I could prioritize a relationship with them. This led to client satisfaction and more enjoyment for me as I focused on the students who were the most dedicated. Now, how exactly does this relate to a studio policy? Well, the flip side of my key clients was realizing that about 80% of my frustration and angst in teaching was coming from a very small minority of my students as well. Whether they were late to pay tuition, quick to skip lessons, or just not showing up, engaged, and ready to grow in music, it was a poor fit. I realized many of these frustrations were because I wasn't enforcing my studio policy. Your studio policy will be a hedge of protection for your time, your joy, and your energy in your music teacher journey. It will help you realize when you are giving your work and effort to student families who aren't respecting your ability to help their children succeed. A final key point for your successful student interviews is that it's time to filter your candidates. The final step of the student interview will happen after your student has left. It's your chance to confirm whether or not the student is a good fit for your studio at that time. I've gone through seasons in which I will accept basically any student, and other seasons where I have a wait list and I more quickly refer some families to other teachers. Saying no to a student family takes more care and attention than accepting a family does. So here's a few phrases that might help if you are in that process. I think lessons could be a good fit for your child when they are a bit older. Or, while I don't think I'm the right teacher at this time, here are the names of 2 other teachers that I recommend. If I'm not intending to accept a student, I usually end the interview with, "I'll be in touch later this week to let you know." That allows me to follow up in writing, which is often a softer way than trying to make that rejection face-to-face. We all know that an ounce of prevention can save a pound of trouble, and that is the reason that I've used student interviews as a secret ingredient for the success of your studio. You can save yourself a lot of time and energy by creating a filter for your incoming students. It's also a way to serve your potential clients because you help them identify whether your studio's expectations are something that they are ready to commit to. As you continue to build your toolkit for your studio, I hope there are more ways that I can help you. The other videos in my music business playlist help with finding more students, setting an appropriate tuition level, planning recitals that families love, and establishing your studio policy. I hope you'll check them out. The theme for my online music business is that life is too short for boring piano lessons. And I don't mean that just for the students, I mean it for you as a teacher. Your time and energy are such a valuable resource. I have a playlist for teaching note reading skills that is designed to infuse creativity and inspiration into your lessons. My website has a library of flashcard resources that are available to download, and I even offer a free online consultation to help you brainstorm success in your studio. I want you and your students to love the process of making music together. We only live once, so let's make the most of it.